Welcome to the Commissioner's Report. I'm Miles Vance. Every year, representatives from Polk County travel to Washington, D.C. to meet with representatives and request funding for certain projects. I'm joined today by County Commissioner Bill Braswell, as well as Deputy County Manager Ryan Taylor, to talk about this year's trip. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Commissioner Braswell, could you explain to our viewers in plain English why it is that we travel to D.C. and why we take this trip under?
Yeah, I mean, every member of Congress gets so much money that they can bring back to their community. We go up there, we talk to all of our congressional delegates and let them know the projects that we're interested in seeing if we can get any funding for. And those projects are always similar in that they're road projects, utility projects, they affect a lot of people, and they're projects that our county has already heavily invested in. You know, we don't go up there asking for a bunch of money. We just try to get some projects over the finish line. And we do it every year. They have a window where they have this opportunity to get funding, and we try to take advantage of it.
And this is an opportunity for the tax dollars that come out of people's paychecks when it goes to the federal government to come back to our local community.
Absolutely. And like I said, they're big projects and they affect a lot of people in the county.
Absolutely. Who did you meet with this year?
Well, I mean, we met with pretty much all of our congressmen, whether it was the actual congressman or one of the representatives, you know, and the senators as well. And, you know, they take time out of their day to meet with us. We kind of walk through the projects that we're talking about. And, you know, part of it is just to show them, you know, that we thank them for what they do for us. We want to let them know that and kind of get our face in front of them so they know who we are.
Yeah. I'm interested, what's the difference between working in the local county government and then taking everything that you've worked on over the past year and bringing that up to the national level and seeing how that operates there?
You get like 10 seconds to explain a multi-million-dollar project. You know, I mean, they've been briefed. Holland and Knight is our, what do you call them, lobbyists up there. They've set the stage, they've laid the groundwork. They've informed them on, you know, who we are, and what we're trying to do. And, you know, they hear us out and, you know, they make up their minds and then they take it to Congress, you know, because it's not a slam dunk. It's not like we want this and they get it. You know, they've got to convince their other congressional members to fund it. And just so you know, it's the senators do not request funding. It's just the House. So the source of the money is always coming out of the House, so we hit them pretty hard.
Yeah, I think I remember that from the Schoolhouse Rock days, you know.
Yeah.
Funding starts in the House.
Yeah, exactly.
DCM Taylor, I was wondering, could you give our viewers some examples of projects that they might be familiar with that were funded in the past from these federal appropriations?
Sure. The current priorities that the board had set forth is, we presented 4 projects this year. Most of those are reoccurring projects that we've received federal funding appropriations for in previous years. So one of those is a flyover over I-4 parallel to US 27. So it will take the local traffic off of 27 and move it north and south past I-4 without having to get through the congestion. It's a capacity project. It's going to remove local traffic off of 27 and put it on parallel streams that they can get to the commercial businesses without enduring all of the additional traffic on.
And everybody loves that idea.
Of course.
This is a sister project to something that's being constructed as well on the east side of I-4 from Posner Park. It's called the Grandview Parkway Flyover. And it's going to connect traffic from the southeast side of 27 and I-4 to the northeast side. So there'll be twin projects that eventually be constructed that will get that local traffic off so they can move north and south. It's one of the answers to the congestion problems on 27. We've got buy-in from the state. We have buy-in from the federal government. So far, we've received $10 million in funding already, and we've asking this year for another $7.5 million. That'll go to permitting, design, and environmental engineering pieces for the project. So it's steps in the process. We've also got the continuing funding for Kathleen Road widening and expansion. There's a segment of Kathleen Road that's already 4-lane and going. We want to extend that up to Highway 98 and Rock Ridge where that intersection is. Again, another parallel capacity project to get local traffic off of 98 and be able to facilitate movement of local residential traffic that can get from 98 and Rock Ridge Road all the way down to Hardin Boulevard in South Lakeland without getting on 98. Another great capacity project that has been years in the making, and we're going to look to finish that out. And we've already received $8 million for it, and we're asking for another $2 million to work through PD&E for that project. A recurring project that Representative Soto has been a key participant in is pedestrian safety in sidewalks in Poinciana. We're going after a third appropriation. He's already got us $1.7 million, and we're looking for another $850,000 for continual construction of sidewalks in the Poinciana area. And those are all reoccurring projects. We have one new project though, and it's the long title of it is Protection of Critical Infrastructure Through Proactive Construction. Right now, where our northeast wastewater treatment facility is, in the high growth area up at I-4 and 27, if we have a major utility blowout, loss of utility, shut down, it may be a week, it may be 2 weeks before we can make the repairs happen. This project would install additional casings underneath I-4, east and west of 27, and then underneath 27. That would be a redundant service provider of our utilities under those major roadways that would allow us to switch pipes, provide that service while we make the repairs on the broken infrastructure. So that would reduce the repair time from weeks to maybe hours and restore that utility to the residents and our commercial businesses in that area.
Just so people understand, on the Highway 27 projects, part of the reasoning they're putting 2 overpasses and moving traffic off, there's no way to widen 27 anymore. Mm-hmm. There's no place, you can't go knock downtown, Haines City down or whatever to widen the road. So by building these parallels to it, like Ryan said, we're going to pull a lot of that local traffic. You want to go to Publix, you want to take the kids to school, you want to do this, it's over here. You can stay on a parallel road. You don't have to get on 27 because it's already a mess like we already know. Maybe you got to cross it perpendicular, but otherwise, it's a good idea. Just like the Kathleen Road, same idea. We're out of lane space to widen it, so let's find a parallel to move the traffic to. And I think both, or actually all 3 of them, great projects. But like you said, they're multi-year, so we go and we ask, we get a little bit, we put some more in, and road projects don't happen, all of a sudden. It's a long process of permits, engineering, development, design, all that kind of stuff. So we keep taking a bite of the apple every time we go up there.
Absolutely. And one thing that I think maybe our viewers will latch onto there is a lot of the focus is in the Northeast because that's one of the fastest growing areas anywhere in the country, right? And so I'm thinking, when you go to DC and you're thinking about what do we want to ask for, is that something that you consider, how this will impact other communities? Because I assume that other counties will benefit from the enhancements on 27.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of the sales pitch. It's not going to, and it's not like it just helps the people inside of Polk County. This goes all the way up to Gainesville. This goes all the way down to wherever. When the traffic's flowing smooth and fast through Polk County, it's good for the entire length of the road. And these guys, they've all been here. They know what we're up against. They know how popular Polk County has become. They know how bad the traffic has gotten. And they do everything they can to help us out.
Yeah. Mr. Taylor, when we think about things like the comprehensive plan, and we think about the TPO, and we think about these long-term projects of improving infrastructure in Polk County, we're talking about numbers in terms of money that is a lot, right? There's a lot of funding coming from a lot of different sources. The numbers are across many different years, so they seem like they're really huge numbers. Can you talk about the significance of the federal appropriations? In reality, is this a drop in the bucket, or is this a very useful tool for us to take advantage of?
Any money we get is a very useful tool.
It's good money.
In the toolbox.
Yeah.
And the way we look at it from a staff perspective, and I think the commissioners do as well, is that we're bringing money back to Polk County. We're assisting with the tax base that we have. We're also bringing additional money back to Polk County that if we don't go after it, it's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And why not bring it back to Polk for a project that's going to help Polk County out? I did some math last night, and going back as far as 2002, we've brought back to Polk County over $660 million.
Wow. And that's a huge number. Commissioner Braswell, I'm curious as to how the board sees federal appropriations when they're mapping out their priorities and their plans and their projects. How do you see that?
Well, I mean, we depend on the staff to identify potential sources of revenue. You know, we don't know what we don't know. They are dealing with these people day in and day out, whether it's federal, whether it's state. They know where the opportunities are. They come to us from a policy standpoint and say, hey, do you want to pursue this? And you know, we talk about this. It's not like we just kind of take a list and go up there. It's vetted even more and more and looked at and analyzed, and they go, look, these look like the ideal candidates. This is, you know, a drop in the bucket to Washington, D.C., but it's real money to us. And, you know, we go up there and see what we can get. And oftentimes, you know, it's very successful. And like you said, $660 million is a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And DCM Taylor, just to bring this all home, you know, when can residents expect to see this? Where can they already see this impacting their community? And you know, how does this help the community?
So some of these projects, through the permitting and design, they're not going to see anything for a couple of years. But what you will see is the sidewalk projects in Poinciana that tied in with our sidewalk advisory committee on projects that the board allocates funding for already, tied into this. It's just, it makes the bucket of money for a specific project, sidewalks, go a lot further than what we're able to do with our normal allocations. So it may be a little while, a couple of years, several years, before we actually see the infrastructure road projects occur. But as far as other projects going on, we have a list. We can make that available on the website or post it. But yes, it's coming. Staff is working on it. We're in touch with the commissioners. We're in touch with the congressman's staff to say, this is our idea of a project. Does it meet within the qualifications of the program? Can the congressman support this? And we have that dialogue early and often so that when we go to DC, it is a very productive meeting with the congressmen and their staff.
And I think it's important to note that there's deadlines that they're up against to get these submissions in, and then they may get pushed back from some other congressman or whatever, and they kind of negotiate the deal out, and they'll go back and forth with Ryan's office and say, hey, we can get you this, but we can't get you that, and they're engaged in the process the whole time. But to what Ryan said there, road projects are big, they're expensive, and they take forever. When I first got here, and I think it holds true, basically from the time you decide you want to do a road project to the first car drives on it is about 10 years for these big projects. So they take a lot of money and a lot of time, but they're well worth it.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you both so much for coming on the show today, and thank you for taking the trip up to DC to advocate for our community.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.